Happening now on Grid Tonight. With Stefan Wilson injured and out of the 107th Indianapolis 500, Graham Rahal will take his seat. Can Rahal deliver for Dreyer and Reinbold? Three-time Repco Supercars champion Shane van Gisbergen is coming to the NASCAR Cup Series later this summer on the streets of Chicago. Can SVG take the fight to the NASCAR regulars? A1 Grand Prix could be making a comeback soon. Could the return of this global racing series of nations become Formula One's future rival series? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Cubby Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me is Joshua Birch, and welcome back, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment and chat below and ask questions. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. During Monday's Grid Live Encore show, we learned that Stefan Wilson would not compete in this year's Indy 500 for Dreyer Reinbold Racing after fracturing his vertebrae in a practice crash involving Catherine Legg. The photo taken there by Chris Jones from Penske Entertainment. Now, Wilson had qualified 25th for the race and was set to make his 5th Indy 500 start. People were immediately wondering who'd replace Wilson in the number 24 Chevrolet. Now, the top three names were J.R. Hildebrand, who's been on site all week, Sage Karam, the previous driver of this particular car in a handful of 500s, and Graham Rahal, the only driver to get bumped this year. Now, yesterday morning, Dreyer and Reinbold made their decision on the replacement driver. And it says, we are very sad that Stefan was injured on Monday and now is unable to compete this Sunday in the number 24 Dreyer Reinbold Racing / Tuning Motorsport / Carekeepers Chevrolet, said Dennis Reinbold, the DRR team owner. Now, Stefan put so much effort into this race that it's just heartbreaking for this to have happened. However, we are announcing that Graham Rahal will drive the number 24 car this Sunday. We have known Graham for over a decade as he drove our car in 2010 at Iowa Speedway. He suffered through a terrible weekend here, but we believe Graham can perform very well this Sunday. And I want to thank Bobby Rahal and his entire Rahal Lennon Lanigan team for granting us this opportunity to have Graham join us this week. We also want to thank everyone in the IndyCar Series garage area for offering their assistance after Stefan's unfortunate incident on Monday. So many people came up to us and asked if we needed anything yesterday. It shows that the camaraderie within the NTT IndyCar Series. We are anxious to get Graham on the track now in the number 24 machine. And of course, we heard as well from Don Chusnick saying, first and foremost, the only thing that matters is that Stefan is doing well, considering the circumstances. We are completely gutted for Stefan, and now we'll miss his favourite racing event, the legendary Indy 500. We wouldn't be here without him, and we are committed to supporting him every step of the way on the road to recovery and beyond. Dreyer Reinbold Racing and our partners have been nothing but supportive, and I couldn't be more thankful. I am happy that we could fill the seat of the number 24 Dreyer Reinbold Racing Tuning Motorsport Carekeepers Chevy with a quality replacement in Graham Rahal. Graham knows the Indianapolis Motor Speedway oval very well, and we wish him the best this Sunday in the greatest spectacle in racing. Now, Reinbold Racing choosing Rahal was a surprise, but at the same time, it's not really a shocking decision. We assumed, given Rahal's status as a Honda driver, that there's no way Chevrolet would allow him to drive for a rival manufacturer in the greatest spectacle in racing. In the end, Honda didn't have a problem allowing Rahal to compete in the race. Honda releasing this statement, Honda has racing in its DNA, and we deeply value the supporting side of racing. Now, we are happy to help Graham Rahal, a long-time member of the Honda racing family, to participate. As a major partner of IndyCar, we want the Indy 500 to be as good as it can possibly be, and we think the race is better with Graham in one of the 33 machines. Most importantly, this is just better for our amazing racing fans that love our sport as we do. That was by David Salters, the President and Technical Director of Honda Performance Development. Now, Rahal Lennon Lanigan Racing also released a statement saying as well from the co-owner, Bobby Rahal, first, I feel bad for Stefan that he is hurt. I'm sure he was very excited after qualifying for the race, and I had done a great job all month. It's a real shame that this happened. I wish him the best and hope he has a speedy recovery. I'm sure we will see him again. I have to say this came out of the blue. I've known Dennis for years personally. I have always liked and respected him as a fellow racer and also a car dealer. When Dennis called, we went to work to make this happen. The most amazing thing is how all these different groups, out of respect for the sport and the Indy 500, agreed to agree and go forward, even though it may have been somewhat of a difficult decision. The fact that everyone pulled together to make this happen for Dennis and also for Graham makes us very thankful. I'm also thankful that Dennis asked Graham to join him and his team and appreciate the commitment and excitement from Mike, Dave, United Rentals, and Fifth Third Bank to see this happen. We wish them the best in the race. Now, here is what Graham Rahal had to say about this unexpected opportunity to race in the 107th Indy 500 after suffering the ultimate heartbreak on bump day.
Well, how do we get here? Where do we start? First off, obviously it's been a challenging week. Seen the highs, I've seen the lows. And I first want to mention Steph Wilson, who has been, the Wilson family has had a huge impact on my life. Justin was a guy I had the utmost respect for, who really helped shape my career and me as a person in many ways. And I feel for Steph. I know how hard he works for these opportunities. So I can't say how poorly I feel for him that he's not had the opportunity to race this weekend, because this is his seat and he certainly deserves it. I do want to thank Dennis and everybody at Dreyer Reinbold for thinking of me. And when the call came, I was certainly surprised, but happy and excited at the same time. And to Honda, to Chevy, thank you both so much for working this out and allowing me to do this. It's not easy. There's a lot that goes into this. And for you to make this possible, for me to go racing and for me to drive for Dennis and for Chevy this weekend, it's a new experience for me. I've only ever driven a Honda my whole career. So thank you both for working together to make this happen. And for Don Cusick, for his family, for Cusick Motorsports, thank you guys so much for considering me. I'm honored to be able to drive for you this weekend. And for Gary Tennyson at Care Keepers, Gary's been a very close friend of mine for a handful of years. It's ironic how these things work. So for Gary and everybody at Care Keepers, I can't thank you guys enough for giving me the opportunity as well. Our objective is to go out there and make you guys proud. Our objective is to be an addition to the team. Ryan Hunter-Reay has been probably my closest friend in this series since I've been in it. So I'm excited to be able to work with Ryan for the first time ever and see what we can do together. And lastly, to the fans, to our sponsors at RLL, it's been a tough week, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the love and support, for the understanding of what we've gone through. And I certainly am out there still to make sure that we put a smile on your faces and make you proud. I'll be here to do everything I can throughout the weekend to support you guys and all your clients that are coming. And to the fans, I'm going to try to put on one hell of a show for you this coming Sunday.
Welcome back, Graham. 72 hours was a bit too much. Glad you're back. Now, behind the mic has said, hello, Matthew. It was a clear decision in my mind. There was no real sense putting someone who hasn't been in a car all month long when you had someone who has been in every session available. Bang on there as well. And I think Adam Limridge as well agreed on that fact as well. He's joined me in the commentary box a few times across the practice sessions. Even Ben Schneider getting involved, saying technically he drove a Cosworth at Long Beach in 2008. That is true as well. Now, boys, bringing you back in as well. Are you shocked that Honda is allowing Rahal to drive a Chevrolet? And was this the easiest replacement driver Dreyer Reinbold could have chosen?
First and foremost, I want to address all of the people who were in our stream, who were in our stream the other night when we were talking about who could potentially replace the injured Stefan Wilson, and all of us basically said there's no way that this would happen, and we were wrong. I was definitely wrong. So everyone who said Graham Rahal immediately, kudos to you. You were right on. But to answer the question, I am really shocked. Honestly, I never thought in a million years Honda would allow their longtime driver to drive a Chevrolet powered car. I'm sure there's going to be certain things Graham is going to be restricted on, as you saw on his shirt when he was being introduced as the replacement driver number 24, that there wasn't any Chevrolet logo on his shirt. So I'm sure he's not going to be allowed to wear anything that represents Chevrolet. I'm not sure if they're going to go as far as taking the Chevrolet logo off of his number 24 Chevy. Yeah, so I'm sure they had to work through all of those little issues and stuff for Graham to be able to do that. Might not have access to a certain amount of Chevrolet data as well, but I think Honda and Chevrolet deserve a lot of credit for working together on this issue to get Graham into the race. I know he's not really having the best start to his season. I believe he was 15th in points entering the Indy 500, and if Graham had missed this race, and luckily it's not double points. If it was double points, it would have absolutely killed his season with no point of return. But even missing one race, it would make a very long season any longer. And now Graham is going to be able to get the points for this race and try to salvage something on what's been a difficult start to his 2023 season. And I think Matthew Owens put it best. This was the right decision, made the most sense, and it's the easiest thing because they didn't have to jump through several different loopholes to get Graham into the race. He's already been on the track. He's run the laps already approved. Only thing they have to do is do the install laps, make sure everything's working properly, and he'll be good to go race. If you had like a Sage Karam or J.R. Hildebrand, they'd have to go through the veteran refresher thing, but on Friday Carb Day, and get that out of the way and a whole bunch of other stuff. So with Graham already been on the track, it just made a lot of sense for Dennis Reinbold and everyone at Dreyer Reinbold Racing to just plug him in.
Yeah, absolutely. My train of thought on all of this since Sunday was, as soon as Graham was bumped, that I thought they were going to put him in Catherine's car. Then, of course, this incident happens on Monday, and that's leg involved in that one. And then the train of thought was, maybe Hildebrand would get the gig if Stefan couldn't make the race, which clearly he's not going to. I was quite surprised in some sense that Graham has got this ride, as we talked about, being a ride from the rival manufacturer. But as the guys have all said there, he's had all of that practice all week. What he doesn't want to have, there's a couple of things on Friday. Is it rain, he have mechanical problems, or crash, because he needs to get acclimatized with that new car that he hasn't sat in, apart from maybe having a seat fitting at some point this week, I'm guessing. But he hasn't driven it at all. So that he'll need a clean weather and clean day on Friday to get himself up to speed before the weekend. Ben says, I'm not much surprised Honda is allowing him to drive a Chevy. I'm more surprised Chevy is letting a Honda driver get, albeit brief, access to driving one of their cars. Well, yes, in this closed era of manufacturers against manufacturers, it is strange to see them chopping and changing people about, I guess. Hello, guys, everyone there on that one. And it's going to be interesting to see what Graham can do. The thing that instantly springs to mind is he's going to be near the back of the field, and will he and Jack Harvey trip over each other in the early laps of the race on Sunday? That would be ironic, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and I just want to say hello to Verukta. That's how you pronounce the name. Hopefully, I've remembered that as well. Somebody who's recently joined our YouTube over on JV Motorsports as well. So hello to you as well, and we're discussing the Stefan Wilson incident over here as well. Hope I didn't miss you saying this and repeating something, but this is an 11-year-old chassis that Graham will be running. It finished 4th in 2012 with Aurora Sylvia. Yeah, I saw that tweet coming through as well, and I was very surprised that it's a 12-year-old car that is somehow still in there. Verukta, brilliant. I got it absolutely spot on. You see, I can remember. As soon as you say how to pronounce it, I remember it as well. And I know Verukta is going to be at the Indianapolis 500 as well, with the commentary in her ears from the YouTube stream as well. So thank you very much in advance for that, and hope you have a great time at the 500 as well. And if you lose the YouTube channel for any other reason. Tune into Matt and Matthew's US Arena coverage on Mixler app as well. It's a bit more stable if you need it during a red flag period. Okay, getting back to the script, for Rahal, this might be a blessing in disguise for him to get in a car that might be a bit more competitive than the Rahal Lennon Lanigan Racing Hondas. Those cars have been struggling for pace all month long as well. Dreyer Reinbold have looked better despite having this problem being a one-off each year as well. Rahal has hinted several times that he could potentially look outside of RLL for the future IndyCar opportunities that he can get if they do indeed arise, especially with the team not meeting early season expectations following a major overhaul in the personnel during the off-season as well. But this last-minute drive for the number 24 team is definitely not the way Rahal wanted it to happen, as Stefan Wilson obviously got injured. Now, Ray, I've got a quick here as well with to say blessing in disguise. I was thinking the same when I heard the news. Yeah, absolutely. It broke yesterday during a stream as well. Was 3 p.m. GMT, 10 a.m. Eastern as well. Now, Rahal has a nice history of helping out the Wilson family. In 2015, of course, following the death of Stefan's brother Justin Wilson at Pocono Raceway, Rahal teamed up with eBay to create a special charity auction of motorsports memorabilia to raise money for the Wilson's Children's Fund as well. Now, a handful of years later, Rahal is helping out Wilson again, taking care of his ride for the 500-mile race. And here is what Stefan Wilson had to say from his hospital bed.
Hey guys, this is not the video I was hoping to make here on Tuesday after qualifying at the Indy 500, but doing well, all things considered. Just really thankful for the support that has been showed to me over the last 24 hours, and just the outpouring of support from all the fans just means so much. So thank you to everyone that is behind me and behind Cusick Motorsports and Dreyer Reinbold for this weekend's Indy 500. Glad to see that Graham is going to be taking over the role driving for Cusick Motorsports and Dreyer Reinbold and Kurt Keepers. And can't thank all the team at Dreyer Reinbold enough, and of course Cusick Motorsports and Don Cusick and all the partners that have made this possible for this year. Just now it's just focused on recovery, and I'm already looking towards 2024 and trying to get back here to this race. And obviously this race means so much to me, so that journey for 2024 starts now.
And this is a statement on Stefan Wilson's condition, of course. The update that we were given as well. We heard the initial on our Encore show on Monday. This was given on Tuesday, May 23rd. After sustaining a fracture of the 12th thoracic vertebrae in yesterday's practice session for the Indianapolis 500, Stefan Wilson stayed overnight at IU Health Methodist Hospital for further evaluation. Now, following further observations and tests on Tuesday, it was determined by the hospital's medical staff that Wilson will require surgery to stabilize the fractured area. The surgery will take place on Wednesday, May 24th, that being today of the broadcast stream date, so we wish him our best there as well. The Dreyer Reinbold Racing choosing motorsport team will have more information in due course. We wish him our absolute best in that as well. Varukta as well saying Greenwich Mean Time, GMT. I thought I was the only one who knew what that is. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. We've got, obviously, with being in the motorsports as well, we've all got time zones. Sometimes we read them off with Eastern Standard Time as well, Central European, British Summer Time. We've got thousands of time zones we've got to calculate as well. Varukta saying bless him as well in the chat. Now, starting with you, Matt, coming to you, Kobe, afterwards, do you see this as an audition almost for Graham Rahal to convince a team like Andretti or Ganassi to consider him for a race seat in 2024? And how gutted are you for Stefan Wilson missing out on the event this year?
Well, on Graham's part, we know he goes well at this race. A couple of years ago, he was in contention to win before he had the wheel come off coming out the pit lane and had that big crash coming out of turn 2. So he's never got to victory lane here, but he has a pretty decent record. So hopefully he can haul that car up from the back end of the field as the day goes on. For future prospects, though, I don't really feel like this one race, if he can maybe pull out a top 5 or something, would put him to the head of the queue at Ganassi or Penske or Andretti or someone towards the front of the field. I don't think that is on the cards. Their whole season at RLL has been pretty shocking. We've talked about it on the show before. Looked like they might be turning a corner at the Indy Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago with Christian Lundgaard doing so well, but it's gone back to, what were they, 3 of the 4 cars in the bump session at the weekend. So I don't think one result for Graham in a unfamiliar car. Okay, the cars are all the same. It's a setup and an engine thing that's different. But in an unfamiliar car and team, you can pull a rabbit out the hat and get a result. He's going to change his kind of future prospects. He's going to be one of those guys that stays with the family team probably for the rest of his career. For Stefan, yeah, it's awful. He's worked pretty much for 12 months to get to this point, gets himself in, qualifies fairly easily as well. Didn't have any worries about going through bumping at the weekend, and then it ends up through kind of no fault of his own. We'll come to that later in the show. Getting wiped out in that accident on Monday and being injured. It's a real shame for Steph and all his sponsors and supporters that have got him to this point. And hopefully he can bounce back for next year. And maybe there might be a tie-in between Wilson and the Rahal team down the track. You never know how things will pan out in the next 12 months.
Maybe if Rahal's oval package gets a little bit better, then Stefan would feel a lot more comfortable taking that sort of ride. And Adam Limerick says in the chat, continued prayers for Stefan Wilson. Happy for Graham Rahal. Yeah, we're continuing to think about Stefan, especially today on the day of his scheduled surgery. We haven't seen anything come out today from Dreyer Reinbold yet in regards to how the surgery went, but if we get it right here live during the air, we'll be sure to share it with all of our viewers, wherever you're watching from around the world. And yeah, this is definitely a great thing for Graham Rahal. Although, as Josh said, these circumstances aren't how Graham Rahal would have wanted this opportunity to run the Indy 500 to happen. I can't imagine the wide range of emotions he's gone through. You go through the lows of the lows, being the only driver out of the race, and then this accident happens on Monday, and all of a sudden he's back in the race just like that. And we still have Carp Day to get through, so hopefully nobody's going to be injured there, because then we need to get another substitute driver, and it will get a lot more difficult at this point in the game. And getting back to the question, Matt, I totally agree with you for Graham Rahal. I don't think one race is going to convince one of the bigger teams to take a chance on him next year, but I do think it's really interesting how the IndyCar silly season is shaping up. I know over at Andretti Autosport, that number 29 Honda Devlin DeFrancesco, that's the one that a lot of people think might be open. And then Ganassi, who knows what's going to happen with Marcus Ericsson, his contract situation. Then one of the worst kept secrets, Alex Palou, more than likely going to move over to Aaron McLaren, leaving that 10 open. And then who knows what's going to happen with the 11, whether or not Marcus Armstrong is going to be able to move to IndyCar full-time next year instead of just running the road and street courses like he's done. So there's certainly going to be a lot of really, really good seats available. And if they give Graham a chance, they'll have a chance to try to show everybody what he's basically been saying, that he's better than the car that he's being given. So Graham is certainly speaking with a lot of confidence there, and it'll be interesting to see how he would do outside of his father's team environment. And obviously we're very gutted for Stefan Wilson, because as Matt rightfully mentioned, he's been basically working since last year for this one day, for this 1 month, for this one race each year. He doesn't get opportunities like this often. For this to happen is definitely a major punch in the gut. And I agree with what Bobby Rahal said. We'll probably see him back again someday, and I hope someday is going to be in 2024, because Stefan deserves to be on the grid again. And a quick comment here from Varactor. Hopefully I said your name correctly. It might take me a while to get that. He said Methodist Hospital is the premier hospital for the drivers too, so that is real hopeful for him. Yeah, definitely. IndyCar, make sure their drivers are going to see the best possible doctors wherever they're racing at on any given race weekend.
Ideally, let's keep our fingers crossed, considering that Stefan Wilson's been filled in for Graham Rahal as well. Maybe we could see later on in the season Rahal Lanigan Racing gifting a race back to Stefan Wilson when he's fully recovered. That would be a nice gesture. Maybe at an oval, got Iowa coming up, maybe more likely at Worldwide Technology Raceway later on in the season. I think that'll be a nice way to sort of say, here you go, you get a race this year as well. But we will update you on everything as soon as we hear the latest from Stefan Wilson as well. Mainly as well, we can be talking about this in our pre-race show here on the Grid Network as well. That's coming up 11 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, the 28th of May. That is at 4 p.m. British Summer Time and 5 p.m. GMT as well. So make sure you tune in for all the action for the pre-race show for the 107th running of the Indy 500. And moving on then to our second story of the evening as well. Last Thursday night, Trackhouse Racing announced that Shane van Gisbergen will make his NASCAR Cup Series debut with Project91 later in the summer. The three-time Repco Supercars champion will drive the number 91 Chevrolet on July 2nd when NASCAR makes its debut at the Chicago Street Course. Enhanced Health and Quad Lock will sponsor the car. SVG said he's dreamed of getting an opportunity in NASCAR and never thought it would become a reality. He brought up the fact that it's NASCAR's first street race, so everyone is a rookie, just like him, but he's not going to underestimate the challenge of competing in the Cup Series. Both photos in this segment are courtesy of Trackhouse. Matt, how excited are you to see SVG behind the wheel of a Cup car? And what should NASCAR fans who are unfamiliar with him know about this super talented Supercars champion?
Yeah, as I said in my tweet earlier on this afternoon, we're talking about three of my most favourite things tonight: Indy 500, Shane van Gisbergen, and A1GP. For SVG, yes, this has been a kind of rumbling on pretty much since pre-Christmas that this may or may not happen at some point. Justin Marks at Trackhouse had said the ride was Kimi Raikkonen's until he didn't want it anymore, and we saw Kimi at COTA a couple of months ago for his second run out in the car after debuting at Watkins Glen last summer. And it looks like maybe Kimi has, in typical Kimi fashion, said, yeah, I'm done with that now. But yeah, SVG coming across is going to be exciting. Doesn't affect his championship run down in Australia, but it's the week before Townsville for the 500 there, another street track. So the schedule's worked out well for him. It looked like a couple of weeks ago at Perth for Supercars that the V8 Sleuth team had got this confirmed that this was happening. Conor O'Brien put out a story to say that he'd pretty much got it bang on, 99%. Adam, another big one of us, the big SVG fans, we all know the name Shane van Gisbergen, and now it is the world's turn. He has jumped across a lot of things recently. Of course, Supercars champion, Bathurst 1000 winner. He was on the podium in WRC2 at Rally New Zealand last year. He's been doing the New Zealand Rally Championship on and off. He was in some sprint car action over the winter for us in the Northern Hemisphere, the summer stretch for the guys down under the equator. So he's no fool about jumping in some different stuff. And let's face it, not many people on the grid at Chicago in at the beginning of July are going to have much street course experience, whereas SVG's got a bundle of that. I'm really, really looking forward to see how he gets on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And looking ahead to Chicago, as you were saying, the vast majority of Cup drivers have never competed on a street circuit before in their career. This is where Van Gisbergen has an advantage. Street circuits have traditionally been on the Repco Supercars Championship schedule for years now as well. On this year's schedule, Supercars are racing on the streets of Newcastle, Townsville, Surfers Paradise, and Adelaide. Let's not also forget about Melbourne as well in Albert Park. Now, SVG might be one of the best drivers in the world, but competing in NASCAR in an unfamiliar car is going to really test his adaptability. Now, does the street racing experience give Van Gisbergen a slight advantage over the competition? And what type of performance are you sort of expecting him in his first ever Cup race?
Well, it's a new track for everybody, including Shane, of course, because it's the inaugural event. He's got to learn the car. Just thinking about the calendar, Darwin is the last Supercars round before Chicago. That's the week after Le Mans, so he's got a week break so he can get across to the States, maybe have a go in it at wherever, VIR or somewhere, get himself a bit more car acclimatized before they head to Chicago for the weekend. But yeah, massive amount of street course experience. He's won at all of them. At Adelaide, he was untouchable for a time. He's won on the Gold Coast as well. Who will ever, if you haven't seen it, go and find the end of the race in 2008 when Shane and Jamie Whincup battled it out for victory. One of the best race finishes you'll ever see. When Shane was a young whippersnapper coming through, before everyone knew how good he was. But he has the street course experience, and it being a new track may give him a level playing field. The new Gen 3 car in Supercars is kind of similar to the next gen NASCAR Cup car at the moment, so it's not like it was a few years ago when they were not vastly different, but they've more aligned themselves with these new cars in both series. So, as I said before, really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. He'll be disappointed if he doesn't do well. I'm expecting a top 10, maybe a top 5. Let's see. It's a NASCAR race. There's going to be multiple overtimes and all kind of chaos. You can see it coming already like a steam train for Chicago in a couple of weeks. Yes, Adam agrees with me. Adelaide 2008 and Gold Coast 2008 was absolutely incredible. So if you haven't seen that, go and find it on your YouTube channel of choice, after the Grid Network, of course.
And of course, SVG is planning on attending the race in Nashville as well before he comes into everything. So there's a lot of busy work for him to do. Now, are you ready for certainly the hottest topic I think we've ever covered here on the Grid Network? And that is certainly saying something, because it's a personal favourite of mine, and it's an absolute, I think, godsend for Matt White as well, a series that he has been crossing his fingers, wishing would come back as well. All these birthday candles he's blown out over the past 12 years as well, finally come into fruition as well. In a Sky News exclusive report, a group of executives are seeking $100 million to bring back A1 Grand Prix. Now, in the report, it says that several major names in the sports and business world are a part of this group trying to bring back the racing series contested by national teams across the globe. If they're successful in fundraising, 20 teams representing multiple countries from all around the world will compete in the World Cup of Motorsport in a spec car. Now, this open-wheel car would have a top speed of 217 miles an hour, which will make it the second fastest race car in the world behind Formula One. Now, the whole project of reviving A1GP is being led by former Alpine F1 team principal Marcin Boszkowski as well, and others. Now, click the link in the video description below to read more on this developing story as well. But Matt, come on, I know how much A1 Grand Prix means to you personally. I don't even need to ask the question without you seeing it on your face already. How excited are you about the possibility of it making a comeback? Also, for all the fans out there who don't know what it is about, what can you share about its history?
I've made a massive mistake by not wearing my A1GP t-shirt tonight and having the bits around. I just a really bad decision on my part.
I can see it. I can look behind you. I can see it. There's a photograph.
This one here is me in the single-seater experience at Silverstone. It kind of looks
A1GP.
but
Yeah.
it's not quite the same. Anyway, for the uneducated or unknowns, A1 Grand Prix ran from 2005 to 2009 over 4 series. In the winter, the sort of September through to April, May would be generally the calendar run. That picture there is from the very last race at Brands Hatch in 2009. Dan Clark, former IndyCar driver there in the Team GB car, in shot, and former F1 medical car driver Alan van der Merwe there in the back of shot in the South African car, stalled at the back end of the grid. But it ran for 4 years. It started at Brands and finished at Brands over that 4-year period, where teams from different nationalities, all running a single car, would compete against each other for the World Cup of Motorsport. It was won by France in the first season, with Alexandre Premat and Nicolas Lapierre sharing the driving. Nico Hulkenberg announced himself on the world stage in season 2 when he dominated for Team Germany. Neil Yarney won in season 3 for Team Switzerland, and Adam Carroll won the final year in A1GP's first existence, let's call it, for Team Ireland in that car there, which was the second car. The first car was a Lola-bodied Zytec engine car, which ran for the first 3 seasons and then went on to become the car used in AutoGP, if anybody remembers that series, which used to run with the World Touring Car Championship back at the end of the noughties and into the 2010s. And they switched that vehicle there on screen, which was the new Ferrari car with Michelin tyres. And all that happened just as we had the financial crash at the end of the previous decade, 2009. Unfortunately, the series was getting set to go for season 5 and was going to be running with supercars at Surfers Paradise to kick off the season in October of 2009. But before we got there, it folded and went into liquidation. But we've had a number of big names in motorsport come through, though the championship, apart from the champions that I mentioned, names you will know. Will Power drove. Graham Rahal, we've heard from him on the show tonight as well. Marco Andretti ran for Team USA in the final season. Scott Speed, Sergio Perez, Hulkenberg I mentioned. A lot of big names. Brian Herter ran a couple of races for Team USA. Nelson Piquet Jr. on his way up through the ladder. At that time, it was another of the feeder categories, sort of when GP2 was around and World Series by Renault. We had a lot of young guys coming through, plucked by the nations running the teams, to give them some more experience in top-line motorsport. And guys like Nelson Piquet, Scott Speed, he ran in the beginning of that season for the very first year for Team USA. So we had a lot of those up-and-coming guys, and we had some experienced guys. Jos Verstappen, Max's father, he ran the whole of the first season for Team Netherlands, getting a victory on the streets of Durban in South Africa. It went to all different circuits. Brands Hatch hosted every year. Sepang was another one that hosted every year in Malaysia. But we went to some far-flung places like the streets of Durban. We had a race in Beijing, which didn't go very well at all in the second season. They had to reconfigure the track, and there was no qualifying while that was being done. So the grid was based on practice times. A lot of the race was run behind the safety car. All manner of different places. I'm trying to think of some other places off the top of my head that we don't really see now in world motorsport. Zhuhai in China held a couple of races as well as Shanghai. So a lot of different places around the world. Laguna Seca hosted the only USA round. That was in season 1. Mexico won both races that day. Salvador Duran sweeping the weekend.
Mexico City had one.
Yeah, Mexico City did have. That's where Team GBR got their first win. Oliver Jarvis. I was up at 11:30 at night shouting at the television.
Same.
Because Oliver Jarvis finally got the win. Team GBR were one of those teams that were always almost going to win, and finally we broke through in the second season. But by the time that happened, Hulkenberg was away and won the championship. There's so much stuff online. If you're on Twitter, which obviously everybody is, check out A1. Just search A1GP and you'll find A1GP history, which is my kind of personal account. We've been going through the seasons. We got kind of stuck at season 2. Fortunately, with busy things going on around the world, that I haven't been able to get back and put some more races and clips and stuff on there for a while. But I had some contact with some of the guy or a person who will remain nameless. That this might be coming down the pipe about 6 weeks ago. And I had a little back and forth today, and this was a leak. It wasn't something that was put out to tempt people, and Sky had got hold of it and put it out, and then obviously all the other motorsport media jumped on it as well. So it's happening. Mike Gascoigne is going to be part of the team as well, former F1 man of many talents. He's going to be part of the design team for the car. So let's see what happens. It's going to be great to see what they can put together, if they can put it together, and if it comes together, who will we get, the next young blood of talent, or some guys falling out of sports cars and Formula One and going down there and plying their trade as well?
Oh, it's such an amazing series. I cannot wait. Adam says A1GP Adelaide, Brands Hatch, Spa, Nürburgring, Sonoma. Make it happen. I'll be on with that as well. That sounds like a great calendar. Hello to Rod Brown again, another one who's come over from the IndyCar YouTube streams we've been doing. Good on you, boys, late arriving. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. You can rewind and get all to it as well. And Varugta as well, saying hello to Rod as well, coming into it. There we go. But assuming this project gets the green light, which fingers crossed it really does, because it's an amazing series, we'd see a 12-race schedule that would see events taking place in North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and of course, the Asia Pacific. Now, the season would begin in December and end in July. Each national team would have one experienced driver and one young driver looking to prove themselves to the world. Now, according to Sky News, the revival of A1 Grand Prix, or A1 GP as it was more commonly known to everybody, wouldn't have the goal of competing against Formula One, since many of their races would be taking place during the F1 off-season. If it ends in July, that's kind of the first half of the F1 season, so don't know where that quote's coming from. So bringing Kobe back in as well and keeping it with Matthew. Kobe, although they say competing with F1 isn't the intention, could an A1 GP revival become an attractive alternative to F1?
Well, Josh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it'll become an attractive alternative to F1, but we really love motorsports around here, and I'm sure people will be very excited to see this. I was really excited listening to Matt describe A1 GP, because this has actually happened well before my time, and I had no idea of its existence until Matt started talking about it a while ago, and then to read up on it and to listen to what you guys have been talking about. It seems like a really great Olympic-like atmosphere with all the different countries competing against each other. I certainly think that is a great idea to have an experienced driver, someone that we all probably know, taking one of the seats for, let's say, Team USA, for example, and then an up-and-coming driver as the teammate. I think there'll be a great opportunity to get someone who's not really well known yet to really shine in the spotlight. And if you bring those big names to the track, that's certainly going to bring a lot of fans, and then that's how the new talent is going to be able to get exposed. And if the on track, assuming this gets the green light, as you guys have been saying, this is something they're trying to fundraise, get at least $100 million to make it happen. With the car, I think it's very intriguing that this car could be the second fastest car in the world behind Formula One, but that doesn't matter if the on-track product is bad. If the on-track product is more appealing than Formula One, and I know since we had the epic championship battle between Verstappen and Hamilton, the on-track product in Formula One is taking quite a dip. And if A1 GP, assuming this happens, are able to put together a compelling on-track product, it could certainly make a lot more people pay attention to that over Formula One. But at the end of the day, I think most your diehard fans are would watch both A1 GP and Formula One.
Put it this way: the very first round of the series ever started with a big bang when Khalil Bashir rolled the Team Lebanon car off the front of Team Italy at the top of Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch. And it made all of the papers and all of the media back in 2005. There was 60,000 plus people at Brands. It was like the old F1 days and when World Superbike was massive in the 90s. It was huge. If we can get something anywhere like that back, if this gets off the ground, and from what I'm kind of hearing, the wheels are in motion, it'd be great. If they're going to do this December to July calendar, kind of similar to what they used to do before, it feels we can do some more shows during the winter and talk about it, which is great. It also kind of goes down the same funnel as Formula E, because of course that used to start pre-Christmas and run through. It kind of hasn't for the last few years with COVID and everything else that's been happening in the world, but it would be great. I'm already trying to think of some rookie drivers that could come in. Let's take Team USA, for example. Someone like Miles Rowe. We know him here on our channel, and selected media do. But if he can get himself into a big seat and do well, it'll be a massive boost for someone like him. Someone like Louis Foster for Team GB, Hunter McElroy. These guys from Indy Next and Pro 2000 and things like that would be very appealing for them if they can get in. And that's what boosted those guys back in the day as well. USA did get one win in former A1 Grand Prix. Jonathan Summerton, yes, remember him. former BMW driver in ALMS for many years, but he got Team USA's only win back in original A1 GP. It was dominated by the Europeans. I listed off the champions before; they all were European based. So let's hope that if this does happen again, we can have a world calendar. Adam's already got he's got half a list there with Spa and Nürburgring, and let's add somewhere like Adelaide or Long Beach. Maybe they could support the Long Beach Grand Prix in April. That would be cool, wouldn't it? To have IndyCar and A1 at Long Beach on the same weekend. Long Beach Grand Prix schedule's pretty packed as it is. You can imagine them squeezing another 2 races in, but something like that. Yeah, exactly right. Well, no, actually, no. Let's not do that. That's not. We do like the IMSA race at Long Beach. Bump Porsche Carrera Cup. But we'll keep Porsche. If there isn't any things that come up in the general media, don't worry. I'll keep my finger on the pulse and keep you guys updated here through the Grid Network with anything I hear over the next couple of months.
Now, I've got one more question for you, Matt, as well, because I know Kobe, I would throw it to Kobe as well, but it's a Sky question as well and broadcasting as well, because me, Matt, in the UK. Now, Matt, it was broadcast as well here in the UK, wasn't it, A1GP, exclusively on Sky Sports, because they picked it up as an alternative to Formula One, because at the time, Formula One was held by ITV, then the BBC straight after. So Sky wanted a Premier Racing Series. Presumably they don't want that now. So would you think, if this does get off the air, free-to-air television now becomes the focus for A1GP to steal views away of F1? Because they've kind of just swapped over, haven't they?
Yeah, back in that period, Sky had A1 and they had the IRL series before IRL and Champ Car, of course, came back together. So they didn't have anything really Top Line Motorsport, so they did get this. It was kind of the world feed that they produced their studio around. Ben Edwards and John Watson were the commentators for them. They had Lee McKenzie of F1 of the F1 Paris. She was a pit reporter for a long time for the series as well. So yes, I agree. Free to air would be good. Back in early A1 was. Okay, 2005 wasn't early internet, but they took advantage of some of the internet stuff. You could watch some of the sessions on the website, and there was live timing and things, and the HD was coming in, and A1 adopted HD very early in their going as well. So they did get a lot of the technological stuff right in terms of the broadcast. And yeah, if they can get on, I don't know, a BBC or a Fox or an NBC or someone that's, a free to air channel, bit of streaming as well, bit of YouTube. Then or somewhere, Netflix or whatever. I know everyone's pandering for Netflix, but if they can get that sorted, and there's lots and lots of water to go under the bridge when this happens, if it ever happens, we're all very excited if it can get off the ground. But yes, I agree with you. We need to have eyes on. Look what ITV have done with touring cars here in the UK over the last however many years now. It's on all day on a Sunday, and everyone can watch it. So yeah, free to air, definitely the way forward. Hopefully that can be something that doesn't trip them up, because you don't want to stuff it away on some digital channel that not many people have got, like a Sky Sports F1.
I'm going to have to call production companies now as well, because if this gets on the air, I want to be in that commentary box. I love A1GP. I loved it as well. It was such a brilliant alternative, and Durban was a fantastic race. I always made sure to watch live as well. So yeah, if anyone's out there, I think me and Matt would be the perfect commentary team.
Yes, absolutely
as well. Yeah, so that would be brilliant. So you've got an advantage here, my friend, because you've got the Twitter account. So get on with it as well. I'm going to throw it back to you now, because it's your turn as well with Matt White. Here is the latest from Grid EPI in the update.
Busy weekend for Grid EPI at the weekend. One of the premier endurance races of the calendar year took place in Germany at the weekend. The Nürburgring 24 hours, and a massive win for Ferrari, the new 286, getting the victory. The first time a non-German marque has won the race since 2002, when the Zaxby Viper won. Congratulations to Earl Bamber, David Pittard, Nicky Katzberg, and Felipe Lezier. They were the victors on Sunday afternoon in a typically crash-filled race, and the perils of the Nürburgring Nordschleife we all know about, and some of the videos coming out from the weekend of GT3 cars overtaking recovery vehicles at speed. You can watch them with through your fingers. It was scary stuff. But congratulations to those guys for getting the victory. We also had the latest round of GT World Challenge America at Circuit of the Americas. George Kurtz and Colin Braun won on Saturday, and then friend of the network Ashton Harrison and Mario Farnbacher got the win on Sunday afternoon. So let's give you an updated look at the standings, because we've had a couple of changes in there. Rio Hirakawa and Sebastian Buemi continue to lead, but the aforementioned Felipe Lazier has jumped into the top 10 with his win at the weekend. He goes 6th, and he replaces Neil Verhagen, who had a non-finish during the race, and he drops out of the top 10. Daniel Candela also dropping down from 10th, replaced by Nick Tandy. So that's the top 10. The updated point score there with Hirakawa and Buemi still leading, and as I keep saying, they're probably going to be at least first until we get to Le Mans, which is the next big 24-hour race coming at you in a couple of weeks' time. This weekend we have only the one series. It's our only sprint series really that we feature in the Grid Endurance Performance Index, and that's the DTM, which gets underway at Oschersleben with 2 races this weekend. There's the updated top 60. By the way, the top female in the point standings is 102nd Lilo Wadu after her win at Spa a couple of weeks ago in the WEC. So top female is Lilo, and she is 102nd in the standings on 7.17 for those keeping score at home. 463 people have now gone onto the scoreboard as we kind of approach the quarter distance, with 42 races down of 149 in the Grid EPI, and we'll bring you the DTM update on the show next week.
Thank you, Matt. And next, here's some more motorsports news around the world. I want to start off with something I totally forgot to mention during our top story when we were talking about Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, and Dreyer Reinbold. And here, this is straight from the press release that came from IndyCar earlier today. IndyCar has announced a special session on Thursday, May 25th for the number 24 Dreyer Reinbold Racing Chevrolet and the number 44 Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing Honda after an Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge Practice Incident Monday involving both teams. A special 15-minute session will take place from 4:30 to 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time in preparation for the final practice from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, which is Miller Lite Carb Day. Graham Rahal is driving the number 24 Chevrolet, while Catherine Lett will be behind the wheel of the number 44 Honda, filled by RLL. Each team will be allowed an unlimited number of install laps out and in within the time frame. They will not be allowed to stay on the track to cross the start-finish line and the yard of bricks, though. So right there for Catherine Lett and Graham Rahal, they're going to have a special 15-minute practice session there to make sure everything is going to be working properly with the backup cars. And next, moving on to some other news, with Andre Lauderer set to miss the Jakarta E-Prix doubleheader race weekend in early June because he'll be at the Le Mans Test Day with Porsche Penske Motorsport. Avalanche and Andretti Formula E reserve driver David Beckman will replace him. Beckman is mostly known for his time competing in Formula 3 and Formula 2. He says he's super grateful for the opportunity to replace Lauderer and make his Formula E debut. Avalanche Andretti currently sits 4th in the team's championship entering Jakarta, so Beckman will have a chance to help Andretti stay ahead of DS Penske and gain ground on Jaguar in 3rd. Graphic courtesy of Andretti. With Red Bull Racing teaming up with Ford in 2026 when the new Formula 1 regulations begin, Honda has chosen Aston Martin Racing as a new partner starting in 2026. Unlike the current situation right now being a Mercedes customer team, Aston Martin will become the official Honda F1 Works team. The Japanese manufacturer will supply power units in a new era that will see a significant increase in the deployment of electrical power and a use of 100% sustainable fuel supplied by Aston Martin's strategic partner Aramco. Martin Whitmars, Group CEO of Aston Martin Performance Technologies, said this future works partnership with Honda is one of the last parts of the jigsaw puzzle slotting into place for Aston Martin's ambitious plans in Formula 1. And the graphic you see on the screen, courtesy of Aston Martin. Hendrick Motorsports announced that Alex Bowman has been cleared to return to racing this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coca-Cola 600. On April 25th, he suffered that compression fracture in a sprint car crash and spent the last month getting healthy enough to get back in his number 48 Allied Chevrolet. Yesterday, Bowman was able to run 170 laps at North Wilkesboro Speedway and a medical evaluation test approved by NASCAR. Despite missing the last 3 points races, Bowman is still 17th in the point standings, so a continuation of his pre-injury consistency should allow him to make the postseason on points if he doesn't want to race in the regular season. With that said, Bowman remains playoff eligible because NASCAR granted him a medical waiver, graphic courtesy of Hendrick Motorsports. And after showing up to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway without sponsorship, Ryan Hunter-Reay finally has a partner that hopped on board for the 107th Indianapolis 500. Root Insurance will sponsor the number 23 Chevrolet for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. This may be a familiar sponsor to NASCAR fans because they previously supported Bubba Wallace's number 23 Toyota at 2311 Racing before Hunter-Reay landed the Root Insurance sponsorship. He was running a black livery with a small car dealership logo belonging to team owner Dennis Reinbold, and the graphic you see right there, courtesy of Dreyer and Reinbold. And before I throw it back over to Josh, got a few more comments in the chat room. Adam Limerick says, shout out to Pippa Man because she competed in the 24-hour race. Yeah. Pippa's been doing a really good job in all of her racing activities that she's been able to do in recent years. I know she hasn't been back at the Indianapolis 500 in a little while. I'm sure that's a race that she like to do at least one more time before she hangs up the helmet. And Varactor says also a shout out to Pippa as well. And thank you so much for saying that our Grid Network channel is way cool. And for anyone else who might be watching for the first time, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss a single Grid Network program. In just a little while, Josh is going to tell you the full Grid Network schedule so you know when we're going to be on the air and all the different programs that we have over here. And another comment from Varactor said that the front wing guards on the 23 look sleek. Yeah, totally agree there. Now I'm going to throw it over to Matt for one of our favorite segments of the show, Hots and Nots.
Thank you, Kobe. I mean, we talked about A1GP tonight. That is a premium hot, isn't it? One thing I was going to quickly mention, and it's now fallen out of my brain. No, forget it. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Hots. Let's start with hots. I didn't get to see a massive amount of telly over the weekend because I was on hollybobs, but Indy 500 qualifying is hot. It is fabulous every single year. And again, the drama that we got over the weekend, especially on Sunday with the Rahal Jack Harvey dealings and then Palou and Rinus VK's pole runs, just sensational. Never change that. Leave it exactly how it is for the rest of time because it's brilliant. That's my hot for the week. Josh?
It's my hot too, specifically.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
The two best days of the season so far across every series. That they were epic. Tension throughout, enjoyment throughout. Specifically, and the clip is on this YouTube channel now. Myself, Matthew, and Josh T as well, all calling the session as well. And the Jack Harvey, Graham Rahal moment as well, where nobody thought Harvey was going to get back in and he bumped out Rahal. It was high drama. And then Alex Palou getting the pole position as well about half an hour later was just absolutely epic as well. I'm not crying. I've got something in my eye. It was a beautiful 2 days of action, and I agree with you. Never change it ever. Never, ever, ever. Leave it as it is. In fact, I think other series should look at it. I was said as well, maybe Monaco should become a format like Indy 500 qualifying, because I think that'd be fantastic. Single lap qualifying around Monaco as well, unlimited tries, and where if you go out, you could lose your time. Even better, because if you put it in the wall on a hot lap, it is so good. I think that should happen because it's so much fun in IndyCar. It could be so much fun at Monaco as well, and it'll liven up the race weekend.
They need to install some lights at Monaco, I feel, if you're going to do that. That session may run late into the night for recoveries of cars at the swimming pool.
Yeah, they just do what Alberto Ascari did, swim.
Yeah, that's right. The thing that fell out of my head has now fallen back into my head, which was that Pippa Man comment about Nürburgring. I'm sure Daniele will bring it up. That was an all-female team at the Nürburgring in one of the lower classes at the weekend. So I'm sure they'll talk about that later on in the week on the Women in Motorsport show. My not for the week, Rod just quickly says, got family in hospital, hoping I don't miss too much, but I have to be on the weekend. I have heaps of fun. Thank you, Rod. We will, as we always do. And it's going to be a busy, busy weekend, of course, with Monaco, Indianapolis, and Charlotte. My not, though, for the previous week was the crash that we talked about at the top of the show, Leg and Stefan. Obviously, Stefan injured. We've talked a lot about that. How lucky was Marshall Pruitt just behind the wall taking his pictures in turn one? Goodness me. But the comments that have come out afterwards about Cat Leg, it just stop, people in this social media age. Just stop. And the Bubba Wallace radio stuff as well at North Wilkesboro at the weekend. It just, we've run out of words, I think, on this, global subject of all of it. I just stop, people, please.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as well, because it wasn't her fault. As I said, it looked like the entire field were doing fuel runs as well, but it's a practice session. They were all in the tow and they all lifted, but she was on her own track. She was going full throttle. It was a complete accident because the front of the field checked up for a fuel run. Everybody else reacted, and she was the last one in the chain. And everyone was started accelerating. So she's got to rise so far in the distance as well to keep accelerating. It's not her fault. And it was a horrible accident, and it could have been a lot worse for Catherine though, because the car just started to tip up as well, but then just came back down to the ground safely. So it could have been worse. And don't forget, Stefan Wilson, yes, he's had a T12 vertebrae issue as well, and he did hit the wall front on, but she got 2 whacks against that barrier. She got the initial whack, and then she got a second whack at turn 2. So it was a nasty accident as well, but it's nothing to do with her driving, because let me tell you something, she's the fastest woman in Indy 500 history at over 234 miles an hour. So she's no slouch. She's faster than Danica. Danica won a race, but she's faster than Danica at this place. And if people say that Danica Patrick was a good driver, then I would put my money on Catherine Legg being a better one here at the Brickyard. So and just Verukta as well, saying as well, the weekend new format in Indy was very epic and crazy exciting, Joshua, no doubt for sure. I have watched the last 1.5 hours Saturday several times. So have I. It's been on the background. I just can't watch. It's fantastic. Yes, I totally agree with you as well. I've got my big knot, I think, has to come from the British touring cars, because usually the British
yet, so go on.
Don't bother. Oh, really? Yeah. The British, you know me, the British Touring Car Championship is 20 minutes, high drama, everybody's overtaking. New rules coming into force this weekend, where in each race, across the 3 races, you must use the 3 tyre compounds. So that's either hard race 1, medium race 2, or soft race 3 across that. Oh my God, did it nullify the racing? Ash Sutton already, who got pole position, that's all the poles this year have been taken by a Napa in the Ford. He was leading by 4.5 seconds. Only closed up on the end of race 1 because he had no front tyres left. But he won the second race, Matthew. Don't bother watching it. I'm sorry for the word, but honestly, don't bother. Because race 2, he won by 5 seconds in a touring car race. Race 3 was entertaining because everyone was mainly on the hard tyre because everyone had pushed it to the end of the day. But, oh my God, we had... If it wasn't for drivers being on soft tyres burning up and everyone else on mediums and holding the pack up, we would have had nothing. And the third race today, which was the best of the action, ITV had the direction of Telly Monte Carlo, and we missed everything. We had side-by-side battles, and we cut away to a replay. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. So ITV and the tyre rules as well. And also, this hybrid power system, which has eventually replaced the ballast system. So now you have like, if you're inside the top 8, you have less energy to use across the race compared to everybody else. 9 down, you have full usage across the entire race. 8 up, you lose 1. But because this circuit is the second longest on the calendar, 2.97 miles, it meant we only got 8 laps of the full 12 for the battery, because that's how big the battery could actually hold the charge for. So we didn't get a full race on it, and it made everyone they couldn't overtake. So the energy system was wrong, the tyres weren't right, and ITV did a horrible direction. honestly, it felt like I was commentating on a Formula One race. And the touring cars is usually I lose my voice. So it was one of the worst weekends I've ever seen. And that is a big not. Usually it's right up there with the hot, but it's not this week, the touring cars.
That's a shame, because I said a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, that one of my hots was Brands Hatch a couple of weeks ago, and that Ash Sutton's going to win the championship. Well, at least he continued that on for me, but it sounds like it's wasn't a particularly thrilling day.
Watch it on times 2, you'll get the gist.
Snetterton has been ruined, I think, by the way they've changed that track from what it used to be. But there you go. That's a debate for another day.
It's a great venue. I've been there. I'm sure you have a lot. It's a great venue, great atmosphere, but the track infield section nullifies the action.
Yeah, absolutely agree. That's it for Hots and Knots. More of it next week. We haven't got any pick a winners to do tonight, but of course we have the pick a winner posts are up. So if anyone wants to jump into pick a winner, jump on the socials, find Joe's little video for F1 Monaco, Indy 500, and Charlotte for the Coke 600 over the weekend as well.
Yeah, it's quite a quiet weekend compared to normal, isn't it? Just Monaco, Charlotte, and Indy 500 to get going. And that means when taking a look at our schedule for this weekend, it is pretty much status quo, but a bit easier for us in the journo department. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, is the Women in Motorsports. Catherine Legg, the only female driver in this year's Indy 500, will look to bounce back from Monday's crash in practice. Now, Sunday, noon Eastern, Grid Live pre-race previewing the Monaco Grand Prix and the Coca-Cola 600. And as we said, on Sunday, May 28th at 11 a.m. Eastern, don't miss our special preview show for the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500. Monday, noon Eastern as well, Grid Live wrap-up, recapping Monaco, Indy and Charlotte. And then the same day, Monday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will have Grid Live Encore wrapping up ARCA, Trucks and Xfinity at Charlotte, plus Formula 2 and Formula 3 at Monaco. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 600 subscribers. Now help us as we reach our new goal of 700 on the road to 1,000. Now, also, don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we go live and upload new videos, and follow all our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. Rod Brown is saying Harvey's last clip with the crowd holding its breath was so epic. The silence for the cheers were insane. We were hearing it through our headphones as well during the commentary. It's something I'll never forget as well, as he crossed the yard of bricks and the big yes from everybody behind. It was fantastic. That clip is available to watch on the Grid Network channel as well. I think it's at 800 views, something like that. Let's get that to 1,000 as well. It's down below in the video description, I'm sure. Now, take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon as well. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin and David in investing each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our coverage by adding new members to the team and having our team on site to cover more races. The link for that is in the video description as well. Now, if you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board and invest as much as you want, and consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and I'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth at the Podium Finish and Matt White from Grid EPI, I'm Joshua Birch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.